accentuate just how neglected the tiny 3x telephoto is. I think it deserves better. It's the same one as before, and now the only low resolution camera besides the selfie camera on this phone. And not just the resolution, it doesn't keep up with the other cameras in terms of the quality either. It looks hazy next to the much sharper 5x. So if you ever catch yourself using that, might as well just zoom in more. As for the other cameras, they're all actually using the same sensors as last gen. That sounds disappointing, but the sensors themselves are great. It's the lens that limits their performance, and this year, both the main camera and the 5x telephoto got a new lens that lets in more light. Here's how it works. You're looking through a camera lens right now, and as I increase the aperture size, you can see the settings. Same shutter, full difference. Extra sharpness, 0.9x pixels are going to worse than before. I've set both the still get you the lens configuration, and in most, it's not just the resolution. Overall, it's a straight. So Samsung announced the new, but that's the Samsung more efficient than the old features on them. Bixby just did nothing. Overall, the Galaxy Tab S11 Ultra may have flown under the radar, but after the latest software and hardware updates, it might just, even though both of these tablets also hits, some of the colors on the top and nose pad is cross-platform coding, and I found some apps flown under the radar. But after the latest software and hardware updates, it might just be the best tablet. It's now just as bright as the iPad Pro, but has better anti-reflection coating, and I found some apps that even let it work as a second screen for a Mac. Plus, the new updated DeX seems even better than the updated Stage Manager on iPad. So I ditched my iPad Pro and switched to using the Tab S11 Ultra for everything, including entertainment, note-taking, productivity, and as a laptop companion device. Here's how they compare. The biggest difference between them is the physical size. The S11 Ultra is much wider than even the larger iPad, and it is kind of awkward to hold. The bezels are also super thin, which just makes it harder to grip with one hand. But with both of these big tablets, I rarely actually hold them, so it ended up not being a big issue. However, this wider aspect ratio is much better for entertainment and some work as well. The Samsung tablet's aspect ratio is actually less extreme than it looks. It's the pretty common 16:10 that you find on most laptops. And I think they use that aspect ratio for good reasons. Most videos look much bigger on here than the 13-inch iPad Pro. In fact, 16:9 videos, the most popular format on YouTube, are actually 42% bigger, even though the screen itself is only 18% bigger than the iPad screen. Watching videos and movies does feel more immersive here. The tab's better anti-reflection coating also improves the viewing experience. Even though both of these tablets are OLED, in a bright room, the blacks do look darker on the Samsung. And now that the S11 Ultra also hits 1600 nits peak, it's just as bright as the iPad Pro. So on paper, it seems like there aren't any drawbacks. But in person, when side by side, the iPad does seem to pop a bit more and get a little bit brighter for HDR videos. Also, by default, I find the colors on the tab a bit too saturated, but it is easy to adjust them in the settings. Both tablets also have great speakers. They're about the same in terms of the quality and the volume. Now, if you use the Samsung vertically, it's awkwardly tall for most things, but surprisingly good for note-taking. You can have source material at the top and notes at the bottom. This way, you get a wider note-taking area versus doing it side by side. And speaking of note-taking, I thought it would be a downgrade moving away from the iPad, since iPads are known for having some great note-taking apps. And the S Pen just lost its Bluetooth capabilities too. But I was wrong. On the app side, most of the good note-taking apps have made their way to Android. One that I recently found is NoteShelf 3, and GoodNotes, which I used a lot on the iPad, is cross-platform now, so it syncs everywhere. I was just gonna stick with GoodNotes on the tab, but I discovered Samsung Notes might be better, and it's completely free. It's nothing like Apple Notes, where typed text and handwritten notes are basically forbidden from ever touching. Samsung Notes is a proper, full-featured note-taking app with even more tools than many third-party apps, like these to help you get better handwriting. There are also many page templates to choose from. And when you hold down the S Pen button, you get this handy shortcuts toolbar where you can select different pens and colors. I wish the other note-taking apps I tried had this too, but they haven't implemented it yet. Now, aside from the apps, we have to talk about the pens. The Apple Pencil Pro is probably the most feature-rich and capable digital stylus. It has pressure and tilt sensitivity, and for pens like highlighter, you can even roll it. Also, it can be found with Find My, which I have needed to use a few times. I think the roll feature can be really handy for art, but for note-taking, it's not game-changing. Overall, the Apple Pencil Pro is definitely the more feature-rich one, where you can set different shortcuts for squeeze and double tap. The S Pen is more simple. In most apps, the button just erases, but I think that is the most useful shortcut. I also prefer the lighter feel of the S Pen. The way I write on a tablet the most these days is actually for journaling. It used to be for studying and taking lecture notes, but post-grad, it's become a place to dump all of my thoughts and make sense of what's going on in my life. I journal pretty regularly, and this, along with meeting with a therapist, has really helped me navigate post-grad life. And thanks to BetterHelp for sponsoring this portion of the video. BetterHelp is an online therapy in only given or go to betterhelp.10% off lose Bluetooth, which means there are no more air actions. That's fine if the app you're using is like Samsung Notes, where it has a clever implementation of the hover function to give you shortcuts. Otherwise, it is a downgrade, but the bigger miss is not being able to find it when you drop it. However, since the S Pen is now a completely passive pen that doesn't need charging, you can mitigate a lot of the dropping and losing by storing it separately, like in a pencil case or the front pocket of your backpack when you're not using it. And since it doesn't need to be charged, there's really no reason to keep it attached to the tablet when you don't need it. Also, the new hexagonal shape helps prevent it from rolling, so I haven't really lost it or dropped it that often. But yeah, it does concern me that one day it'll just disappear and I'll never find it again. And lastly, I do want to point out that the S Pen does come in the box with the tablet for free, while the Apple Pencil Pro is definitely not free. So this may not be the most fair comparison. For as long as I've had an iPad, there have been promises of it being the future of computing, but it hasn't really become that, and I don't think it ever will. Neither will the Samsung tablet, because ultimately, both of these devices are built on a mobile operating system that prioritizes running smoothly over doing heavy work. So if there's ever too many apps open, they'll just start closing the apps in the background.
Introspection is a luxury I cannot afford. Brother, is that you? No, no stench of brimstone. Stand correct! Deliver! The match! Asayo! must listen to reason. They must. prophecy is a chain binding us to oblivion. I will break us free.
Your turret has been destroyed.
Is violence truly the only language God understands?
An enemy has
Mortality sets me apart from my kin, but it may be your saving grace. Retribution! It is peace.
Your team has destroyed a turret.
I will not fail.
Destroyed a turret.
I am not so mortal. I will not fall as humans do.
Light on my feet.
Your turret has been destroyed.
A path of only light or darkness is a path to ruin. Flee while you can! They all seek my aid, but do they listen? No.
An ally has been slain.
War ends now!
Dominating.
After all. Death can wait. Destiny cannot. The gods have forgotten compassion. against war is not yet.
Were not in their favor.
My brother, the gods, they must listen to reason. They must.
In something deep.
I will not bend. Dawn and dusk at one.
Shut down. Shut down.
As opposed to a laptop where things can stay open more reliably. There are definitely more pro apps on the iPad side, but many of them are still just cut-down versions of their laptop counterparts. I still can't see myself editing a full video on the iPad version of DaVinci Resolve. It probably has like a tenth of the features and it's somewhat clunky to use. On the Android side, there still aren't that many pro apps and it doesn't seem like development
enemy
is
has
ramping
been
up either.
slain.
So neither of these are really pro devices or the future of computing. But that aside, multitasking on a big tablet is pretty important, and just within the past few months, both tablets got pretty significant software updates. Coming from the iPad, which has Stage Manager and windowed apps, I feel like Samsung's new Dex is a blend between the two, but for the better. It is missing just one great feature from iPad OS though. On the iPad, I like grouping apps in Stage Manager. You can have different apps in different stages. However, one really annoying thing is that when you minimize the app, they end up in a different stage, so things can
cannot
quickly
be
get
our
messy.
destiny.
The windowed apps mode does get rid of this problem, but now you only have one stage essentially, so you can't have different groups of apps anymore. The new Samsung Dex is like the best of both worlds. You get different desktops like you do in Stage Manager, so you can have different app groups. But when you minimize the app, it works in the more logical way of just simply returning to the dock. This setup is definitely better than the Stage Manager or windowed apps mode on their own. But Samsung Dex does have some limitations. For example, you can only have 4 desktops, and you can only have 5 apps displayed at the same time. That is plenty, so I think most people won't have a problem with it. And apps will get pulled from different desktops. So let's say you have the Notes app open in desktop 2, and then you go back to desktop 1 and open the
Dawn
Notes
knows
there.
no mercy.
Now you can see it's no
Dusk
longer in
knows no
desktop 2.
restraint.
There is good window snapping and handy keyboard shortcuts in Dex. But I think the snapping mechanism is still a bit better on the iPad side. Like if you just bring the edge of 2 apps close together, they automatically form this handle, which you can then use to resize both of the apps. You do get this in Dex too, but only after snapping both of the apps. And furthermore, the iPad lets you snap to quarters, whereas in Dex, you can only do left and right. So Samsung Dex and iPad multitasking each have their pros and cons. I personally prefer the way Dex works more, but neither is close to a convenience on the long run. Since these tablets are not going to replace a laptop, the M5 seems a little wasted in the iPad Pro. If it secretly got replaced by an M1 chip, I probably won't notice except when gaming. And for gaming, the Samsung's new processor did get a decent upgrade. It's still nowhere near the performance of M5, but it is enough to handle heavy mobile games. Now, instead of replacing laptops, I think these tablets are much better as laptop companions. When you don't have a monitor, the tablets can make for a great second display. So obviously, the iPad works great as a MacBook. tablet can work well as a second screen for a Windows laptop, and you can get the app Super Display for even more connection options. Now, I haven't tried this one, but I have heard that Glide X by ASUS is great for using the iPad as a second screen for a Windows computer. Overall, the big screen on the Samsung tablet is so impressive for videos and slightly more productive, but it is more awkward to hold. Surprisingly, I actually prefer the note-taking experience on the Samsung. It's a bigger working surface, and the lighter pen just feels better to me. I don't think either of these tablets is going to be a laptop replacement, but big tablets aren't dead. Note-taking and drawing aside, they're awesome as a second display and for watching videos. Give this video a like and subscribe if you found it useful, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!
Equivalent exchange. Retreat. Preparation.
Unstoppable.
My course remains the same. Do not test me.
Your team has destroyed a turret. An enemy has been slain. slain.
My brother, the gods, they must listen to reason. They must. Here you go! Enough! Your final breath!
Ally has been slain.
I am not so mortal. I will not fall as humans do. Stop Morgana. Find my brother.
An ally has been slain. Your inhibitor has been destroyed. Ace. Your turret has been destroyed. Your turret has been destroyed. Defeat.
Today we're covering